Hi, this is Mrs. Murphy with Romeo and Juliet. Today we are looking at Act 1, Scene 5, where the lovers first meet, otherwise known as the party scene. It begins at Capulet's home, and the scene you have to imagine on stage must have been one of lots of action and disarray. The first servant says, "Where's Potpan?" that he helps not to take away. He shift a trencher, he scrape a trencher. And so this might sound like Greek to us, but what's going on here is that this servant is angry that Potpan is not pulling his weight. A trencher is a kind of dish, and so the servant is upset that Potpan is not scraping plates, that he's not moving plates the way that he should be to pitch in and help out. And so his friend, who is also working and trying to get things cleaned up and ready for the party, says, "When good manners shall lie all in one or two men's hands, and they unwashed too, 'tis a foul thing." So he's basically saying that, hey, the two of us are the only ones with manners here, and we're having to do all the work, and our hands are unwashed, and um, so this is a sad state of affairs. The first servant replies by saying, "Away with the joint stools, remove the court cupboard, look to the plate. Good thou, save me a piece of marchpane, and as thou lovest me, let the porter in, Susan Grindstone and Nell, Anthony and Potpan." So again, just total chaos. Do this, move the stools, move this here, put that there. He says, "Save me a piece of marzipan," which this is like an old-fashioned spelling of it. But if you don't know, marzipan is this dessert. It is like a kind of paste that can be formed into different shaped candies, and this is an example here of what it normally looks like. So the second servant just says, "Aye, boy, ready." And this first guy says again, "You are looked for and called for, asked for and sought for in the great chamber." And the second servant says, "We cannot be here and there too. Cheerily, boys, be brisk a while, and longer liver take all." So essentially, they have found Potpan or some of the other servants who maybe were sort of trying to skimp out on the work, and there's just a lot of banter going on between these working class guys. So enter Capulet with Juliet and others of his house, meeting the guests and the maskers. And so Capulet is the party host, and he plays the role to a T. He says, "Welcome, gentlemen. Ladies that have their toes unplagued with corns will have a bout with you." And what a bout is here is like a walkabout or a dance. And he is essentially teasing the women into dancing by saying, "Hey, if you don't dance, that must mean that you have corns on your feet, that you have these big sores on your feet that make you uncomfortable and are usually a sign of old age. So, hey, if you are a young woman and you are in good health, you will dance, and there's no excuse for not partying at my house." He continues, "Aha, my mistress, which of you all will now deny to dance? She that makes dainty, she I'll swear hath corns. Am I come near ye now? Welcome, gentlemen. I have seen the day that I have worn a visor and could tell a whispering tale in a fair lady's ear. Such as would please, 'tis gone, 'tis gone, 'tis gone. You are welcome, gentlemen. Come, musicians, play. A hall, give room, and foot it, girls." So foot it actually means dance. When you go back to his line that "I have seen the day that I have worn a visor," the word visor here actually refers to a mask. So here's an example of the type of mask we're talking about, that they are at a masquerade. And he's remembering his youthful days very fondly. He's a jovial guy. He is very optimistic, pleasant guy to be around, and he just wants everyone to have a good time. So the music plays and the people dance. You can imagine this is really quite a spectacular scene on stage. This is probably one of those scenes where it would absolutely be better on stage. I don't think there are any that wouldn't, but this one especially. More light, he continues, you knaves, and turn the tables up, and quench the fire. The room is grown too hot. Ah, sirrah, this unlooked-for sport comes well. So there are several different words that they would use for a lower class person. One of them is knave, another is sirrah. Also villain was used to refer to a lower class person. But what Capulet is saying here is, hey, the room is hot, turn down the fire, turn up the lights, go fix the tables. He's just giving lots of directions to make sure that the party scene is really set and that everything is in place and ready to go for his guests. He continues, for you and I are past our dancing days. Sorry, he's addressing his cousin Capulet. He says, nay, sit, good cousin Capulet. For you and I are past our dancing days. How long is it now since last yourself and I were in a mask? And of course, he's referring to this sort of mask. And second Capulet replies, by Our Lady, 30 years. And so he's swearing by the Virgin Mary, by Our Lady, it's been 30 years since I wore a mask like that. Capulet replies, what, man, 'tis not so much, 'tis not so much, 'tis since the nuptials of Lucentio. So, come Pentecost as quickly as it will, some 25 years, and then we masked. So Capulet says to his cousin, no, it hasn't been 30 years, it was 25 years ago at Lucentio's wedding. Nuptials would be wedding. And the second Capulet replies, 'tis more, 'tis more. His son is elder, sir. His son is 30. So it must have been longer than 25 years if they danced at cousin Lucentio's wedding and Lucentio's son is 30 years old, then maybe you're remembering this wrong. Maybe the wedding was 30 years ago. And so Capulet replies, will you tell me that? His son was but a ward 2 years ago. And so this is kind of a joke that would have been really quite shocking in this time period, that a ward is just someone who's adopted, just someone who lives with you, like Robin is Batman's ward, or they're alter egos. In terms of their alter egos, Robin is Bruce Wayne's ward. So it's somebody that you take care of who lives in your home, but not necessarily your child. So apparently this child was born 5 years before their wedding, and then sometime later they started referring to him as Lucentio's son. So clearly Lucentio had probably fathered this child out of wedlock, 5 years later married his mother, and then eventually, somewhere down the line, got around to calling him son. Quite shocking, quite shocking. Elsewhere on the stage, we see Romeo speaking to a serving man, and he says, what lady is that which doth enrich the hand of yonder knight? He's very taken with this woman he spies across the room, and of course it's Juliet. And the servant says, I know not, sir. And Romeo replies, oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. It seems she hangs upon the cheek of night like a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear. Beauty too rich for use, for earth too dear. So shows a snowy dove trooping with crows, as yonder lady o'er her fellows shows. The measure done, I'll watch her place of stand, and touching hers, make blessed my rude hand. Did my heart love till now? Forswear its sight, for I ne'er saw true beauty till this night. Romeo is definitely over the top in love. He is speaking in rhymed couplets, so seeing Juliet just inspires him to speak in poetry. And we also have some similes. in this description when he says, like a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear. So he uses figurative language, poetic language to describe Juliet. Back on the other side of the stage, still talking with his uncle, Tybalt overhears Romeo and says, "This by his voice should be a Montague. Fetch me my rapier, boy." And so he must be speaking to a servant, calling the servant boy. And he is asking for his sword. A rapier is a type of sword. He says, "What dares the slave come hither, covered with an antic face, to fleer and scorn at our solemnity? Now, by the stock and honor of my kin, to strike him dead, I hold it not a sin." So Tybalt is rationalizing, hey, this guy comes in here disguised. He must be wearing a mask. It's a masquerade. He says, this guy is our enemy. He comes in here disguised. He sneaks into our party. He sneaks in amongst our guests. I'm not even going to feel bad about killing him. And Capulet says, whoa, whoa. Why, how now, kinsman? Wherefore storm you so? So he's trying to calm Tybalt down. And Tybalt replies, "Uncle, this is a Montague, our foe, a villain that is hither come in spite, to scorn at our solemnity this night." So saying, you know, this guy's going to scorn us. He's going to laugh at us. He's going to laugh at our party. And Capulet replies, "Young Romeo, is it?" Tybalt says, "'Tis he, that villain Romeo." And again, villain was an insult, but maybe it doesn't mean quite the same thing that it does today. But it was an insult. He was kind of calling him a low-class guy. Capulet replies, "Content thee, gentle coz, let him alone. He bears him like a portly gentleman, and to say truth, Verona brags of him to be a virtuous and well-governed youth. I would not for the wealth of all the town here in my house do him disparagement. Therefore be patient, take no note of him. It is my will, the which if thou respect, show a fair presence, and put off these frowns, and ill-beseeming semblance for a feast." So he tells his young cousin, his nephew, hey, cheer up, put a smile on, don't worry about it. I hear he's a pretty good guy. We're not going to worry about this tonight. We're here to have a good time. Tybalt replies, "It fits when such a villain is a guest. I'll not endure him." So he's still not totally convinced. Capulet says, "He shall be endured." "What, goodman boy?" "I say he shall. Go to. Am I the master here, or you? Go to. You'll not endure him. God shall mend my soul. You'll make a mutiny among my guests. You will set cock-a-hoop. You'll be the man." And so Capulet is really trying to put Tybalt in his place and saying, hey, this is my house. You can't do this. He's playing bad cop now and putting his foot down. Tybalt replies, "Why, uncle, 'tis a shame." And Capulet says, go to, go to. You are a saucy boy. Is it so indeed? This trick may chance to scathe you. I know what. You must contrary me. Marry, 'tis time. Well said, my hearts. You are a prince-cock. Go. Be quiet, or, more light, for shame. I'll make you quiet. What cheerily, my hearts. I love that line, be quiet or I'll make you quiet. I think that's hilarious. Capulet is speaking to his nephew and he's telling him how it is. Tybalt says, "Patience perforth with willful choler meeting, makes my flesh tremble in their different greeting." So we talked about choler being a reference to anger. And so when he tries to temper his anger with patience, his body just literally trembles. He says, "I will withdraw, but this intrusion shall, now seeming sweet, convert to bitter gall." So this is going to make him bitter, having to withstand this. And, you know, he's not really happy about the way that his uncle has treated him. So we're going to pause there. And we're going to come back in with the actual meeting of Romeo and Juliet here in the next video. Thank you.